Hi.
I'm Amy.
I'm Haley.
I'm Lori.
And this is Hugo Girl, the podcast where we talk about science fiction, fantasy, books, films, features, sometimes whales, and horses.
Yep.
Yeah. Boats.
Did we do the names and the name of the podcast backwards just then?
I don't know. I thought I was the DM.
Oh, I thought I was a DM because you did you did
please
Vor.
DM.
You did Vor, and then she did the last one.
Stand on Zanzibar.
Thank God.
Well, that's great. Now we're double prepared.
DM battle.
We could both read our recaps and see which one's better.
Mine is not good.
Well,
Oh, I don't even have my notes. Can you grab my notes out of the printer?
We're doing great, guys.
I was just raw dogging it.
This is like the last week in school. I know. You're just like hanging out. I don't want to do we have to do work today?
It is actually the last week of school.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever. We're professionals, and this is how professionals behave. Do we have any housekeeping?
Lots of people who want to have lots of pitches for people to come on our show who have nothing to do with anything. They're like, here is a man. He wrote a book. He has 50,000 followers he would promote your podcast to. And I go, report spam.
Maybe one day we'll get a good one.
That's too many followers. I don't think I want that many followers.
I start being mean. I think
Things get unwieldy.
Oh, totally. I prefer quality over quantity.
Yeah,
and guess what?
absolutely.
Listeners, you are quality.
We have the best.
Yeah. We got a nice email from a new listener who found out about us from the voter packet.
Yay.
And the subject line says, a new faithful listener.
Aw.
I know. And the listener's name is April. And the email says, started listening to your podcast because it's my first year voting for the Hugos and I take my voting duties seriously.
Aw.
So I think April is a completionist when it comes to voting, which I admire.
Yeah.
I've read all the novel nominees already. In order to vote in the best fan cast category, I wanted to listen to at least one episode of each nominee. Yours really grabbed me to listen to more. At first, I had only listened to episodes of books that I had already read, but when I ran out of those, I decided to listen to your back catalog. I didn't think I would find listening to you talk about books I didn't know as fun as the others, but I did. Just makes me so happy to have your chats to keep me company on my long way to work, doing the dishes, or folding laundry. I love all your little segments, but my favorite is Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, and the cherry on top is when it's actually Star Trek. Hey! I also just love women unabashedly being themselves, and I can only hope I am as fun as y'all in 15 years.
Aw.
Bless.
From which we can infer that since we're all only 30 years old, April is 15.
That's
right?
correct.
Hardworking high schooler.
Yes.
I hope we haven't introduced her to bad words.
You guys are charming, sincere, thoughtful, and always funny. I'm so glad you decided to allow yourself to be nominated for the Hugos again so that I could discover you. I hope I make it to say hello and talk a moment at Worldcon. Cheers, April.
Oh,
We will definitely talk to you in public, April. Come say hi.
Yes, come say hi. We hope to have an opportunity to do a table talk, or there's one that's like some literary beers where I guess you host a little meetup over drinks.
That sounds fun.
Maybe a stroll with the stars. There should be some formal opportunities, but also we'll just be afoot.
We'll just be hanging.
Yeah, we'll just be hanging. I think that's all that I have for housekeeping. Just happy housekeeping.
Yeah.
All right. Today, for your listening pleasure, we are talking about Double Star by Robert Heinlein. Is that what we decided to go with?
I don't know, man.
Okay.
I always say Heinlein.
Heinlein. Robert H.
Bobby.
Bobby Hine.
Bobby H.
It won the Hugo in 1956 after being serialized, then published as a book after that. It was his first Hugo of 4, and then plus, not including the 7 retro Hugos that he's won. The man is decorated.
I said the same thing.
You said decorated?
No.
Oh,
Decorated. I ad-libbed decorated. That came out of my
Me
head.
and Amy both prepared for DM, but I did probably a markedly worse job.
Oh, I don't know if we should assume that. Let's not assume that until we get into it. Honestly, if things start to break down over here, it's good to know I got backstop. All right. This book. The Great Lorenzo is a down-on-his-luck actor who is asked to impersonate an important politician named John Joseph Bonaparte, who has been kidnapped. Lorenzo is bundled off to Mars, which is unfortunate since he is racist against Martians, who are somewhere between Space Ent, Space Man, and Space Sea Cucumber, as far as I can tell. Possibly Space Mushroom?
Space mushroom. I pictured just a big mushroom.
Oh, we're going to get into this. Okay. So that sounds cute to me, but he didn't like it. He wasn't into it.
They were like, to me, the Scrode Riders.
I mean, an 8-foot mushroom's kind of with like pseudo limbs.
I mean, it could be cute, could be terrifying. Anyway, don't worry about his racism, though, because Lorenzo is brainwashed to think the Martians are delightful and smell like an irresistible fragrance called jungle lust, so everything is okay again. While on the ship, Lorenzo takes a lot of tape so that he can learn to be Bonafort, and he ends up being so convincing that even Penny, who is in love with Bonafort, becomes in love with Lorenzo. Great! Lorenzo bravely stands in for Bonafort through a Martian citizenship ceremony, a tour of the Emperor's model train set, and a general election, which he wins. There's trouble when a disgruntled employee tries to out Lorenzo to the press, but you gotta get up pretty early in the morning to pull one over on the great Lorenzo. The real Bonafort eventually dies, and Lorenzo is stuck doing the impersonation for the rest of his life, which is sad, but necessary to push through the liberal agenda. It's okay, though, because Penny marries him.
Hey.
Good job. That's much better than mine.
Good job.
Hey. All right, guys, goodies from Goodreads. What you got?
This one made me laugh out loud. Not because of the content of it, but because of the idea. So Violin Knitter gave it 2 stars and says, the main character is totally a Gary Stew.
I saw that one!
I have exactly that. And it was a longer one, and that was exactly the line that I saved too.
I had never heard that before. It's so
I feel
funny.
like we should ring a bell when we all get the same good read. We said the secret word. By the way, the Pee Wee Herman.
I cannot wait
so
to
good.
watch this.
It's
I cannot
so
wait
good.
to watch
It's
this.
so good.
I cannot wait to watch it. Was that your goodies too?
No, I haven't. I have backups.
Okay.
Bob gave it 1 star and said, DNF, as soon as I found out the MC was a homo. I love that one too.
Ding, 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 ding.
I have to start over. As soon as I found out the MC was a homo, I lost interest. Just doesn't appeal to me. What's talking about?
Who's the MC?
The
Main
only
character?
The main character. The only thing I can think of that he could possibly have taken away is that at one point he says something like, "You don't meet a stranger in a bar and ask them to go home with you if they're the same sex," or something. He says some weird line like that.
Or the opposite, but he's saying like,
But he
wouldn't
means,
happen.
yeah. But like maybe you could read that and think he's gay, but there's no way you think this character is gay.
Maybe he meant homo sapien. Bob is a Martian.
I could see an asshole saying that because he's like fancy and good with words and an actor. Like, I think a homophobe would assume every male actor is
I
gay.
guess the first scene is a lot of dudes talking.
In a gay bar.
That's every classic science fiction novel, though. It's all men talking in rooms. I don't know, man. This was like a spit take when I read it. I was like, what?
I had that same one.
That's good.
But I did have a backup. Mostly I called these 2 out because they had the same, they basically said, I'll just read you Garrick's. Garrick with his 1 star said, "It is not really a science fiction novel in concept, just a regular story set in a world with aliens and goofy technology."
I
I agree with that completely.
And then Josh with his 1 star said, "There really wasn't anything about this I enjoyed. He can't write. I had to suspend a lot of disbelief." I don't know what you're expecting to do if you read a Then he says, "I don't think any deep things were explored and it barely qualifies as science fiction to me." So I just want to jump right into talking because I thought those were, it's interesting that you guys are agreeing, and it's interesting that both these guys said that.
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't it qualify as science fiction?
It does. I mean, on paper, yes, there's Mars and aliens, but just the vibes, not science fiction.
This to me is a political thriller, a mildly thrilling political thriller on the moon and Mars. Like, the science fiction to me is very incidental, and I think you can say that about other books.
Yeah.
But in this one, it's like very, very, very incidental. Like, why couldn't it be set in Chicago?
Yeah. Nothing would change. And if it wasn't, I mean, it's very clearly an allegory with racism and stuff, but
Oh yeah, I definitely he was trying to make a point with the racism stuff for sure.
to me, there's no sense of wonder or explanation like in a lot of, like in Starship Troopers or Moon is a Harsh Mistress, like you're talking about life on the moon. This is just like, and then we went to Mars.
Yeah, we were just there. The only thing where I think that the science fictional elements are integrated into the plot are, why can't we just tell everyone that he's been kidnapped? It's because he'll be late for this Martian party, and the Martian culture says you can't be late.
Yeah.
But that's it. And I feel like you could have come up with, a different reason. I mean, something as simple as it would make us look weak if our guy had been kidnapped. So I just don't. This is not really a complaint because I thought this book was fine, but it is just, to me, it's not science fiction in a meaningful way.
Yeah. I think actually the cider press thing is kind of sci-fi, like how they get into the water to help with the deceleration. That's sci-fi.
That was cool. And then
Deceleration couches.
Yeah, which is cool.
And like, I wonder if this was the earliest book I can remember talking about, like, this kind of spaceship, this torch ship that like, accelerates, flips, and then decelerates.
Oh, you got way more out of that than me. I was just like,
I thought he gave.
okay.
That's part of the reason I thought it was pretty good science fiction. I thought he gave pretty good spaceship.
Okay.
In the book. Okay. I mean, this is again. I think reasonable minds can differ about this. I was just interested to read that because it does get me. I'm always interested in this question of like, well, how do you know science fiction or whatever when you know? Because I mean, theoretically, any science fiction book you can take it out of space and put it on the Earth, and then it's regular. I don't know.
Sure.
It's just college thoughts, right?
I was trying to think about other books, and so things that came to mind were like Memory Called Empire. Like that story doesn't work if you don't have the memory implant, and so yeah, that doesn't work. So I don't think you can
Like
get rid of that and have the
matters.
same. Yeah, you won't have the same story. Or like Some Desperate Glory, you probably won't have the same story if you don't have these like tensions between different species and Earth has been blown up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of things you could move somewhere else, but I think this in particular, it wouldn't affect the story at all if you plopped it somewhere else.
It's almost like it's more like it men's adventure fiction, right? Like if you could write this story if he went
on
to
the
like
sea.
to China,
that'd be great.
or something, you know, like
What if this was a seafaring tale?
I think part of it isn't the lack of sci-fi-ness, which is, the I know it when I see it type thing. It's the narrator's voice is so 19th century British man that I was just like, it doesn't seem sci-fi.
It's funny you say 19th century British man because when I was reading it, the first thing I thought of, which Haley and I both said, it reminded us of Confederacy of
that
Dunces.
too. Yeah.
But the other thing it reminded me of was 3 Men in a Boat,
Oh yeah, I've
which
read that.
is a 19th century male narrator. Let me make sure. I'm not good with dates.
when this guy was talking, all I heard was 40s. I just heard
really?
mid-Atlantic.
I heard. Well,
He had a very flowery way of talking, so
Yeah.
I definitely see what you mean.
Yeah.
To me, he sounded like, hey, I'm gonna,
Yeah, it took me out of it because it was so different from other Heinlein books too. Like it just didn't seem futuristic.
He wrote it in 3 weeks.
and this is one of his juveniles. This was what would nowadays be called YA.
Yeah, that's true.
The 3 Men in a Boat was published in 1889. So, 19th century, right?
Just barely.
Because you add one, right? We're in the 21st century.
Yes.
Now? Okay.
That sounds right.
Math is hard.
Yeah, so strange tone. I think if it was written with like a more, I don't know. I just know it when I see it.
So I liked that about it, actually. For me, that was why I enjoyed reading it, was the tone. Because I don't care about, I have no head for politics and books. I can't pay attention to it and factions and what that kind of thing usually just sort of slides
You can't
over
hear
me.
it when he starts.
Also slides over me when you're describing a spaceship, apparently, because I didn't even notice that. But I did like that. I just thought he was a little funny. Kind of arch. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, I do want to talk about him as a character because I think it's interesting I think he's an interesting character.
Yeah.
One of the reasons I think this doesn't strike as science fiction is because he doesn't spend a lot of time like describing the world we live in.
That's true.
In this book, right? Like, and I was flipping around through the internet reading people's takes, and Connie Willis had a review. She liked it. Did you read it too?
No, I just have her blurb on the front of my book, which I thought was so funny. Of all Heinlein's books, Double Star is one of my 3 favorites.
So it's her third
I think
favorite.
that came out of this.
I think it's such a funny blurb. Like, and also the comma, ...
I don't think Connie did that. I think somebody else.
No, like they just didn't care very much.
But she said that he doesn't walk us through his futures, pointing out the amazing inventions and advances. His characters live there. To them, it's as familiar and ordinary as the present is to us. In Double Star, we find out about bounce tubes because his hero Lorenzo doesn't have enough money to take one, and about the moon shuttle because he's spectacularly sick on it. Neither is explained, and neither are drop sickness or silico flesh or auto secretaries, yet because of Heinlein's facility in inventing names and providing context, they don't need to be.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I thought the silico flesh and just sort of dropping things in where you can infer what it is was well
like
done rather than explaining it.
One of my least favorite things about reading fantasy and sci-fi is that you have to be integrated into whatever's happening. So you spend a lot of time just learning where you are, which can be really cool world building, or it can be really a slog.
Are y'all gonna hate some Neil Stephenson? Whew.
I don't always hate. I guess that was a little strong. I don't always hate it. It just, but I like stuff like this where you can just be in the story and just do the thing.
It depends on the skill of the writer whether an info dump is like an interesting Wikipedia page or is just like dusty.
And I mean, there were times in here where Lorenzo really went off. He really riffed on a topic, and you're like, "Can we get to the end, please? Can we get to the point?" I mean, it's not like he won't slam you with some text.
Did y'all notice this? He says the word different. Mainly Lorenzo says "eh" 42 times. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a lot.
That is a lot.
And every time he did it, I said it out loud, trying to see how they would do it. Because usually people say like, "Oh, what are you doing, eh?" Like it's like a Canadian thing. Like, but it would be a standalone sentence. "Eh, what do you mean?" And
that's to me, that's what sounds like 40s.
Well, yeah, but like it sounds old no matter what.
Yeah,
like, it's so
100%.
archaic in its phrase. Yeah. But I was just like, he got really hooked on saying, "Eh, what do you mean?" And so I think he was trying to be like,
do you think it was like, oh? Like,
I don't know. I thought about it.
What is?
I thought about it at least 42 times, and if there was a camera in my house just watching me go, "Hey!"
I mean, now that you mention it, yes, I absolutely noticed that, but I guess I didn't.
Sometimes it was like 4 times on one page. I was like, is he hard of hearing?
Maybe he is. But he trod the boards so long that he can no longer have
I thought about that a lot.
Okay, so Lorenzo, our hero.
Lawrence
Smith or Lorenzo Smythe, whichever one you want to go with. So he's not a particularly likable person.
No.
In the beginning, at least. Like, he's pretty self-centered, and he's got an inflated ego, and he's just racist as hell.
Yeah.
And then he goes on this journey, and he becomes this guy, and he's doing his thing, right? And by the end, he's come around on a lot of things, and he's like
he changes.
Trying to be this other guy, right?
I think he becomes the guy.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Do we think that Lorenzo had a character arc, or do we think he just started being someone else?
I mean, I think they're the same picture.
There's no.
Well, I think when you get exposed to things like living in his little small actor life on Earth, it's like there's fewer racists in cities than in small towns because you see more people.
Yeah, but I don't know if he got de-racist. He
had a procedure, so we can't really say if he would have done that.
Well, his brain literally was changed by someone so that he didn't think that anymore.
Do we think it's racist when it's a different, completely life form? Like, maybe they are scary.
Well, the language was, I think, very specifically chosen by Heinlein.
I mean, I know the allegory, which makes sense, and yeah.
I mean, I think xenophobia is a thing, whether you're on Earth or not. Is the question, do we consider it racism if there are different?
It just seems like racism is such a human thing about people that are the same except for really trivial characteristics like skin color or nationality.
I mean, I think it has to be racism in this context because in this particular period, science fiction writers typically used aliens to represent other races. Yeah. And I mean, that was even said, I think Octavia Butler talked about it, where someone was like doing a writing workshop or symposium or something, said something along the lines of, well, we don't need to put other races in our books because we can just use aliens. Like, that was actually advice for writers. So I think, like, just given that context, I have to assume that that's how this is functioning here, whether it's a good analogy or not. Yeah. I think that's how people used it.
That makes sense. I guess I was thinking more just like in real life, if aliens were a thing, it's like, well, what if they are scary?
I think I would still call it, I mean, I guess in the sense that racism really is like the only differentiator between you and the thing you hate is the race. Then yes, it's not
Which
racism.
is a social construct.
Right, it's not racism.
Like, but if there was like a snake alien, I'd be scared.
Right. So there's a different word for that.
Yeah, and maybe it's just xenophobia and you shouldn't be an asshole to anybody.
Well, ultimately that's the conclusion Lorenzo comes to.
Exactly, yeah, and I think that is the correct conclusion.
Well, it sounds like Martians were fairly well integrated into the society.
Yeah, he was
like they were drinking at the same bar.
He was right. Like the language he used in this book was, I mean, I think Heinlein was very specifically making a point about this guy being racist.
And Dak was like scandalized.
Like, you are a racist.
What he said.
You are an asshole. Yeah. Like, I mean, he hated Dak the minute he found out he liked Martians. This is like, nobody could accuse me of race prejudice. I didn't care what a man's color, race, or religion was, but men were men and Martians were things. They weren't even animals to my way of thinking. I'd rather have a warthog around me any day. Permitting them in restaurants and bars used by men struck me as outrageous, which I have no doubt is exactly the kind of racist crap people would spout when they're like, I'm not racist, but,
I highlighted that part and I was like, oh, he's saying all lives matter.
Right. Exactly. So that's just interesting to me that like he didn't get past it. He was just
He was reprogrammed.
changed.
Well, would that we had that.
Yeah.
You know?
Honestly,
Would
well,
that
that's
we had that.
my next thought was, well, if that's the way to do it, then I guess we could do it.
But I do think otherwise his arc has a lot to do with his study of Bonforte and Bonafort.
I pronounce it Bonfort.
Bonfort.
Pick your poison.
I think a lot of his growth is from education, which is
And
like
exposure.
that's right. You know,
Like learning where he's coming from,
learning-
or the
yeah.
other where the other guy was coming from.
learning where the other guy is coming from, and in the process of doing that, studying like what are the reasons that because I need to understand the reasons if I'm going to be able to answer questions on the fly. And then he's like, oh, it is a good idea to do X, Y, and Z. But it's funny because you would think like, I guess as an actor, you have done a lot of study of other people.
Yeah.
But that didn't get him there. But studying politics,
But he has to, like,
studying intergalactic politics, maybe it opened his mind a bit.
and he has to be this guy.
Yeah.
Like he has to literally be him. So
He does.
It's interesting that he changes so much because he has to like ingest this person, basically.
There is a quote in AA that a friend of mine told me once. And it's like, if you hang around a barbershop long enough, you'll get a haircut sooner or later. So like, if you do enough things and you believe it enough, you'll start to believe it. I
Fake
guess.
it till you make it.
Yeah, kind of. And also like, he also goes and like experiences the ceremony with the aliens. So
Yeah. I mean, he does
he's
have
like,
those
oh, they're-
experiences.
they're good
Meets
people.
their children and is like, oh, families, like we have
and
families.
they smell like jungle lust. So what's not to love? That part was crazy. So he, when he's getting brainwashed into liking Martians, the doctor, there's this one woman on the ship, Penny, and she wears the perfume Jungle Lust. And the doctor brainwashes Lorenzo into thinking that Martians smell like jungle lust. So that's what he smells.
And then that helps with his racism.
Yeah. Because they smell like women.
Step 4, equality.
How could they think that he's a gay man when he loves the
Well,
smell
he
of
likes
women's-
perfume. finish it.
Or maybe in the opposite way.
He didn't finish it, and I maintain maybe he meant Homo sapien.
I liked where Heinlein was going with these Martians too. I'm just gonna say, like, they look like tree trunks topped off by a sun helmet,
Scrotrider.
which I was trying to picture, and I could not.
At one point he says toadstool, so that's all I
Yep,
pictured.
they looked like a nightmare toadstool.
I wonder what makes them nightmare. Like,
So
are they
they're
covered
tree
with
trunk
warts?
with a sun helmet. They're also a nightmare toadstool, so they might be dicks.
I
Maybe
drew a
walking
picture
dicks.
for you, Amy, while you were
I saw
talking.
it. Yeah,
This is the picture of it.
it's a dick, but I think is his name Squidward?
Oh yes,
yeah.
The blue one?
Squidward.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. They grow pseudo limbs. They can look in all directions at once without turning their heads.
That's kind of creepy.
They smell. They have a life wand. They can talk. They have nests.
What
they
did y'all
reproduce
think
by
the life
fission.
wand was?
I thought a life wand was an erection at first. Then I realized it was like a stun gun or something.
Or
Which
like
is funny to call it a life wand if it kills or hurts.
It takes
It's
your
like-
life.
It's a projectile lightsaber.
yeah, kind of.
That's what it sounds like. It was some sort of projectile weapon.
Yeah, life wand.
I
But
have an embarrassing question, please.
Yes.
When I'm saying Homo sapien, should I be saying Homo sapiens? Does it have an S at the
There's an
end,
S, yeah.
regardless of how many homos there are?
Yeah, because that's the name. So it's
Haley sounds really confident. So I'm gonna go
A
with that.
Homo sapiens.
Homo sapiens, yes.
One guy, Homo sapiens. Okay.
Well, no, so like you would never refer to a person as a, I mean, it's more like Homo sapiens is the name of our species. So
Well, yeah, but if you like see a human, would you say that's
I would
a
say
Homo sapiens
I would say
with an S?
he is his species is Homo sapiens. That's what I would do.
But that's not what I'm asking.
Yeah.
Is Homo sapiens?
This is my friend Lori. She is a Homo sapiens.
Yeah, or am I a Homo
don't-
sapien?
I don't think it's used in that
Well, we're using it that way now. It's a living language, Haley.
I agree.
I'm gonna Google it.
half of my job is just rewording things people say to avoid weird questions and apostrophes. So.
Well, I'm standing on my weird question.
I've done some weird passive voice in my time to avoid trying to figure out how to make something possessive.
Other people are asking this question. Is Homo sapiens singular? I'm not reading the Gemini answer. I would rather die than read it. It leaves the question open, but common usage would suggest that Homo sapiens are is the better form.
Yeah.
Well, this is from Quora, so that's also not a good.
Go to
Grammarist. How about that? That sounds authoritative. A singular phrasal noun. Okay, so I think that means the S at the end of sapiens is deceptive to English speakers because it makes the term sound plural even though it's not.
So you are a Homo sapiens.
Okay. So when I've been calling him a Homo sapien, that was incorrect.
Look up the species name for the common dog, and I'm sure it doesn't have an S at the end.
It's Canis familiaris or something like
so that
that.
is so he's a Canis familiaris.
Yeah, the S is just it's just hanging
It's
out.
Latin. It's weird.
Doesn't mean anything.
Yep.
Okay, sorry.
The Martians are also space Mormons. I forgot about that.
come?
Did y'all read that part?
Did I read this book?
He was going
with you,
in,
Laura.
he was going in for his Martian citizenship ceremony, and he started talking about going into the inner sanctum of the nest.
Oh,
the
that's
inner
right, and
nest.
nobody else can
and he's
go.
like,
That's right.
He's like, you can go to the outside, but you can't really go all the way in. Can you? Just because you're friends with a Mormon, does that mean you'll be able to go into the
that's
temple?
true.
Absolutely not.
Yeah,
it's like,
that's true.
what is happening? Right
He said that?
Yes.
I remember that.
There was a whole
I guess
Mormon
I kind of remember
passage.
that.
It was great.
Oh.
It was wild.
Mormon mushrooms.
Also, I was glad to see that he possibly invented the term "sexy ugly."
Sexy.
Did y'all catch that? He described Dak as the sort of big, ugly, handsome
yeah.
galoot that women go for and men take orders from.
Galoot.
Galoot.
Let me see what I. Oh, he calls somebody shipmate in the beginning because he's a spaceman, and I
Oh,
love that.
yeah.
So the plot of this book. Have y'all seen the movie Dave?
But is that, he has to be the president?
Kevin Kline has to impersonate the
Maybe
president.
once 30 years
Oh man.
ago.
Well, first of all, y'all should watch Dave. It's a great movie. But second of all, Dave is this book, which is also hilarious to me.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, this book is all soap stuff, so.
The whole thing is soap stuff. It's also giving mirror dance.
Yep.
In a way.
Twin
to me.
stuff, yeah.
Yeah, like people standing in for other people. Connie Willis, on top of that other thing I read a minute ago, also said
It's her third favorite.
that there was
her first two?
there was an actor, an American actor, who was hired, or American or British, actually, I'm not sure which one, but he was hired to go to Gibraltar to convince the Nazis that invasion wouldn't happen because he was acting like General Montgomery. He went there and he impersonated General Montgomery to talk to the Nazis.
What actor?
Clifton James is his name. And Connie thinks that this book might have been based on that because his book about that came out in 1954. And then he started writing this. So this actually happened in real life.
That's fun.
That's crazy that it happened in real life. I mean,
Yeah.
wild. She also said Penny is her favorite character, which I've got some thoughts about.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, Connie wants all women to be competent and good looking and not feminists. So
Maybe,
You know,
yeah.
this book does seem like a Connie Willis novel. Like, this could be, like, the Oxfordian vibe is there.
Yes,
Time travel.
Oxfordian vibe. is
oppressive Oxfordian feeling.
OOT. Yeah, OOF.
definitely- the ending kind of made me sad of this book. Y'all don't probably care, did you?
Well, why?
I was like, oh, yeah, he's the guy.
There was something that felt melancholy about it. Why do you say
this
that?
guy is never going to be his own self ever again. Like,
I thought of that, but I also felt like he didn't have to stay. And so I thought there's something about this that he prefers to his other life.
Plus, we don't know anything about his other life. Like,
He was broken down on his luck and
this-
racist, and that's
This
all
seems
he
like an
kind of knows.
like an upgrade.
It does. Now he's got a wife with a round fanny who's
Yeah.
obsessed with him.
Yeah.
Somehow she
God, she had a round fan.
Yeah, I think I'll spank it at 2 G's.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. I think if this was a movie and I could emotionally connect with the character more, I would have been sad.
Oh, just the idea of it made me kind of sad. It was like, yeah, he does have this life now, but it's not really his life. It's somebody else's life that he just adopted.
Why isn't it his life now?
I mean, he's living it, so I guess
Yeah.
it makes it his life.
And by choice.
But he stepped into this life that he didn't start, I guess. It's like as if you got kidnapped and suddenly I was somebody's wife. You know, I just didn't.
Yeah, but I think he didn't have to.
Yeah. I think he likes the challenge. Like,
I do too.
and I think he likes the idea that he's like, he's not just becoming Lori or me or you or whatever. He's becoming like one of the most powerful men in the galaxy.
And I'm sure that appeals to him.
I think there is something sad about it, especially because of the way they faked Lorenzo's death. It was like, didn't they make it seem like a suicide or
It
accidental
was an
overdose?
assassination, right?
No, or Lorenzo, the actor.
He dies?
Oh, it was like suicide or something.
They killed his. Yeah, they
killed
they
off
did a
his
fake death.
his real persona, so that
gotcha.
he
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And so that was, I thought that was sad. I thought that was inherently sad. But I think he likes the life that he has. And Bonfort, his goals are being accomplished. And I don't know. It's,
I think you're right
it's
that
not,
it's
it's
objectively
not a
sad.
win-win, but I think it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like, I don't know, he's being tortured. I mean, he did choose to do this, but it's just, I can't imagine, like, even on his own time, 25 years later, being this person all the time.
It'd be weird.
Like, I don't know. I feel like it kind of would hollow you out in some weird way.
But don't you think the person becomes him? I mean, after a while, the person that people know is you.
Yeah.
So like now the Farley file is going to have what your favorite drink is. Like maybe at a point he could be like, yeah, I'm not a whiskey and water guy anymore. I'm a this guy. And the friends would be like, okay. And like eventually that's you. I mean, he's probably still adopted some of these mannerisms and they're there forever. But I mean, if he likes spaghetti and meatballs, people are going to be like, oh, I guess he likes spaghetti and meatballs. Like, I don't know. I don't feel that he was erased. I feel that he just changed.
And Heinlein could have made it much more sad if he like left his wife. He's like, I've got to go do this one last job. Or
that's
or like he's
true.
like, I've lived in Moon City for 30 years and I love my friends, but I'll do this one job.
Yeah.
And he had it sounds like an abusive upbringing.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not saying he didn't get a upgrade in some ways. I mean, I think he did get an upgrade in some ways, but yeah, I guess, I don't know. It just hit me really hard, actually. Like you get to the end of the story and you get to the point where he's like, I wrote that 25 years ago because I was trying to come to terms with what I had agreed to do. Basically, he's like, I agreed to be this person forever. I wrote that 25 years ago as part of therapy. And then he's like, I barely remember that person. Like,
Isn't that always true though?
Yeah. And that's what, so yeah, I mean, I have a lot of thoughts about it. Like we all change over the course of our lives. And like, if I try to think back who I was when I was 20,
You wouldn't know her.
she and I would have a conversation, but we probably wouldn't have much in common, So yeah, absolutely. We all become different people as we age and change and go places and do different things and that sort of thing. But there was something about it that just was very, I don't know, like it turned the tone for me quite a bit at the end. It was like reading something by Bradbury or something.
It felt like melancholy or bittersweet or something to me.
And he didn't seem sad or like
no
or like regretful.
It was a hard thing that he did. He didn't do it under any particular duress.
No, I mean he agreed to do it. I think if he had not agreed to do it though, it was like a choice with no good answer, right? Like if he hadn't agreed to do it, he would have been left knowing that, if something bad happened because he didn't do it, he would have had to live with that. And like, but he has to live with the choice that he does make. So it was like, he made the choice, wasn't a great choice, wasn't a great couple options, in a lot of ways.
Yeah, his options weren't good because his other life wasn't.
Yeah.
was not fantastic.
No, and I don't think he would have felt very good about himself if he hadn't agreed to do it. But I guess that's how we all make our choices.
The way he talks, I disliked him a lot. And so I didn't emotionally connect.
Same.
So like by the end I was like, oh well.
I
didn't emotionally connect with him, but I also kind of liked him. Like he wasn't very likable, but I kind of liked him.
If there was one thing that I had a hard time buying was how quickly he is able to rise to the occasion. Because at the beginning, he's giving Ignatius J. Riley with a little bit of a job. He's just so like pompous for no reason. I mean, he's funny. I liked reading him, but he didn't seem like a particularly decent or thoughtful person, and also a terrible racist, or xenophobe, if you prefer. And then at one point I was like, how long has it been? Because he's like really turned into a statesman in a couple of weeks. And the point where I was like, this is a different guy was when he gave a speech and then the opposition party all resigned. And then the guy, Bill, was like, this is all your fault. The opposition party resigned because of your speech. You should have stayed on the script. And then Lorenzo's like, well, I guess you thought it was a good speech, didn't you? And he was like, no, it was a shit speech. And he was like, you can't have it both ways.
Yeah.
You can't say it was a shit speech, but somehow it actually moved a whole party in power to resign. And Bill's just sort of like,
Bill got lawyered.
Yeah, Bill did get lawyered. And I was like, this is a different guy.
And I don't think it's too long after that Raj, these are all of his little
his cohorts.
Raj comes up to him and basically asks him to make a decision that he would normally have asked Bonafort to make, right? Like up to that point, he was kind of a puppet, right?
Yeah.
But then at some point, like they start asking him to do things that they would ask, like, yeah.
And he's like, did you ask him? And they're like, no.
Yeah, it was an interesting. I thought that transition was really well done by Heinlein. Like it was
very shown and not told.
Being himself and starts being someone else.
Yeah,
but.
I felt that it happened too quickly,
Yeah,
but also I'm glad that I didn't have to read an 800-page book, so I am okay with it.
It's an interesting question whether he's a Gary Sue or not, because
I mean,
I mean, he's a trained actor,
Yeah,
so
he's persuasive.
he
He's
should know
smart.
how to do this. But becoming a good politician, I guess, is the one where he probably shouldn't have been able to do that so fast.
Yeah.
Or is Heinlein saying it's that easy?
Well,
It's all fake.
this was another question I had. Like, his portrayal of politics is really interesting because it's like the voters will be duped, like, no matter what, right? So here, or are all politicians this? Are they all
There's a lot of
just-
dumb politicians.
Yeah.
So
It's like politics is both really, really important in the book and also a total sham, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
maybe he's just a smart guy with acting training and he blows the pants off of them. So,
I mean,
and he hasn't been playing the game for 30 years.
politics
so,
is showmanship.
oh, 100%.
Yeah.
So several years ago, I can't remember which extremely distressing election cycle it was. I started wondering, I was like, is all of this just fake? And I was imagining like Bernie Sanders behind a curtain asking Elizabeth Warren, does my hair look disheveled enough? I was like, what if this is all
Like, they all talking totally normal in the wings and then they come out and start being themselves.
And then he's like, do I look harried and frustrated? I don't know, man. I was just imagining them like fluffing each other up to be like the appropriately outraged liberal character.
I mean,
I'm not saying anything against Bernie Sanders. It was just like this weird moment I had.
but I don't think
all
it's
of
that
this
far off. I mean,
distress.
these people have brands. They have
Right, yeah,
they have personas. They have things they're trying to convince you of by the way
like
they
if
are.
Bernie Sanders ever
Yeah.
comes out looking like real slick, it would be weird.
Well, if you think about our current president and also Ronald Reagan.
Prefer not to.
Ronald Reagan.
Ronald Reagan.
One,
let's
he's a
call
no
him that.
baby. No.
Wascally Wonald.
There's a scene in Back to the Future when Marty's in 1955 and Doc is like, well, if you're from 1985, who's president? And he goes, Ronald Reagan. He goes, Ronald Reagan. He's like, well, that makes sense because of TV.
The actor. That's a great scene.
It's one of my favorite movies.
I mean, that's why actors do pretty well as politicians, I think.
People like to be
They get it.
spoon-fed things they want to hear. I like this quote, talking about how he shouldn't go to rallies because someone might find out. He goes, fine, don't. There are no new votes to be picked up by personal appearances at political rallies. All it does is wear out the speaker. Those rallies are attended only by the faithful.
That made me feel good.
Yeah.
I read that and I was like, right.
That was like 75 years ago.
They know
Like-
ain't nothing new under the sun.
Nobody's going to a primary being like, I wonder who I'll vote for.
Right? Yeah, when they're like undecided voters, I'm like, are these like, is it 6 people?
Have they been in a coma for
Who
12
are
years?
they?
Guys, okay, well, given that he thinks we can impersonate anyone if we just get their walk down, that was a whole part. He's like,
in the
Mannerisms
birdcage,
are
right?
important.
I mean, if you get someone's walk down, you can impersonate them and nobody will tell the difference. Leaving that aside, is there somebody you guys think you could impersonate if they were kidnapped?
No.
I think you could do Zooey Deschanel.
I really can't stay.
Only if he's wearing an elf hat.
I think you could pull off Tilda.
Oh no, Tilda's far older and far
Listen,
prettier.
we're going to put makeup on you. I don't know who I could do. My mom used to tell me I look like Sybil Shepherd.
You could do Deirdre from Andor.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh, she has the best like stink face.
She has like permanent stink face.
It's great.
I used to do really good impersonations of people, but
I'm
still
so
do.
bad at
I don't really do it much
I'm
anymore.
bad at those.
It feels like sort of mean, so I don't do it much anymore.
You do it so well.
Thank you.
I don't think I'd be able to do an impersonation for very long because I don't think I could have, like, me and the fourth wall would be doing a whole thing. I think the whole time be like,
You'd be gymming.
Yeah, I'd be gymming, I'd be mugging for the camera the whole time. Like, do we all believe this is happening right now?
Behind a curtain, Lori could do it. She could just be like the best Mockingjay.
Oh, yeah. Behind the curtain. I'm going to give everybody a life wand on Life Day. That's in my notes.
I'm gonna put us. Make sure the safety's on. Put it in your life wand safe.
Did you guys
Penis holster.
Did y'all know that Heinlein was super sexy? Did y'all know about this?
Is
He's
he
a historical hottie.
I actually don't know what he looks like. I'm talking about on a vibes level. He lived in 1930s Greenwich Village where they were all about having
that's
sex with
cool.
each other. He was in an open relationship with his second wife. He was a nudist, which is all caps because I was shocked.
So he's a
Okay.
freak.
He developed a waterbed.
Developed a waterbed.
He was into
What does that
free-
mean?
He designed a waterbed because he was like laid up with illness for a while, I think, and so he was like, it'd be way better if this was water. So the waterbed is the sexiest of the beds.
I don't know. He's giving young George Sally. I don't know.
He doesn't have the ears.
outfit he's wearing?
He doesn't have the ears.
He was in the Navy.
He's got a little anchor on his.
Yeah, he's in the Navy.
Did you know that his second wife,
That's
Ginny,
cute.
had a higher rank in the Navy than he did?
Who did?
Ginny, his second wife. She was a chemist and a rocket test engineer.
Oh.
She had a higher rank in the Navy than him, and she also lettered 4 times as an athlete in college.
Damn.
Ginny,
Letter.
love her.
He served on boats. That's cool. He then got TV. Yeah, he was just a lieutenant.
I have a few lines that I liked.
Hell
I
yeah.
can share those. Well, number one, I liked Farley Files.
Farley Files is cool.
By the way, I actually kind of keep that in my notes app, especially
I
at
need
work.
to do that because I don't remember anything.
So I keep things in my notes app about people at work and things that they like and they don't like. For example, there are 4 people at work who don't eat chocolate, so I don't bring chocolate cakes anymore.
That's so thoughtful.
I just keep little things like that.
I'll eat the whole thing.
I mean, I don't need a Farley File on you guys. That's all up top.
I probably do because I remember.
But I do keep a little notes app thing.
The Farley Files Wikipedia page is interesting.
I know. There's a whole.
Yeah,
it's
it's really
really link. I was shocked by
I
it.
also really liked it when he said to, when Lorenzo said to Penny that he thought that it was kind of disingenuous to like pretend that he remembered something, and she was like, "Here's why it's not," and fuck you.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, I think that scene was probably my feminist favorite, where she was like, here's what you don't understand about being a person of a higher social status." And then he later uses that information to have this epiphany about why there was no Farley File, or why the Farley File and the Emperor like didn't have much in it, and it didn't have the Emperor's drink, or that I call him by his first name, because that guy needs a Farley File on you. Because everyone is his friend, but he's not friends with everyone.
I did have a small bone to pick with that whole thing, though, because I feel like somebody in his entourage would have known that he knew the Emperor.
For sure. Yeah.
So in the book, he goes to spend time with the Emperor, and there's not a lot in the Farley File, and our hero was like, oh, that must be because they haven't spent a lot of time together. This is going to be so easy. But then he goes, and it turns out they've been on first name basis for 20 years.
You're
and
exactly
just
right.
Nobody mentioned that.
That was a lapse in the staff. But in terms of how the Farley Files operate within power dynamics, I thought was very intelligent, and I liked Penny's insight into it.
Like, everybody's going to remember you, but you're not going to remember everybody.
Right.
Right. Even if you want to.
Yeah. It's like how the teacher has to remember 30 kids.
Or I think about this constantly. Every time you go to your therapist, they have to like refresh, like, okay, who's their best friend? What happened? Who's their ex-wife?
I do wonder about that.
Oh,
I saw a funny post on Blue Sky the other day that was like, I know everyone thinks this, but for me, it's actually true that I'm my therapist's favorite.
Oh my God, there's a really funny sketch. One of my very favorite sketches on the internet is this girl, Lisa Gilroy, who I think her star is rising, and I'm very excited about it. She does this bit about she plays her own therapist, and her therapist is like, "You're the funniest." She's like, I don't tell this to everybody, but your problems are the worst. Like, when she just goes through this whole thing. It's very funny.
When you get an A in therapy.
I know. I want to get a gold star in therapy every time.
So they're called Farley Files because of James Farley, Franklin Roosevelt's campaign manager.
So interesting.
I love it.
He was like, what we're going to do is we're going to write down notes on all these people, and then I'm going to tell you what they say right before you talk to them, and it's going to be great.
You know, we mentioned the Emperor, and that also did not feel sci-fi to me. It didn't seem like
because it was the king. It was the British king.
Exactly. like oh, Scotch old boy.
It was like the politics that he described was the constitutional monarchy of England.
Like I want to see like a silver hallway with like, I don't know,
something. It was on the moon. I'll give it that.
Yeah.
And it was New Batavia was the name of the city.
Yeah.
Was the name of the city.
I guess they've still got those German monarchs in England.
He said he was looking for the Habsburg,
the chin or
something. Yeah,
well, that's a Habsburg.
Yeah,
that was the thing, right?
I looked them up recently for some reason, actually. Yeah, so that was the fact that politics was still exactly the same. But I also did like the fact that America like joined the empire like with a big caveat. They were like, we're not going to be acknowledging any royalty, but we will join your little club.
Oh, and how they address the emperor varies based on their nationality. Yes. I thought that was pretty funny.
I was very confused about like the political structure.
I did like what he said about an emperor's like liegemen, like the lords and dukes or whatever. They have to bow because they actually owe fealty to this person, but that the citizenship, like if you're just a citizen, you don't have to bow because you share sovereignty, I think is the phrase he used.
That reminds me of like the sovereign citizen movement.
I know. Yes, I am. Yeah, I meant to go look that up and I forgot, but I thought that was an interesting idea.
If I was the emperor, I'd ban that rule. Everyone's bowing.
Sorry. Like, regular, you're sitting the whole time.
I'd be like, I'm American. I don't acknowledge that you can make me bow.
That's so funny.
The eagle caw sound.
I want to read my quotes that I liked.
Please do.
This, when Lorenzo sees the size of the Farley Files, I scroaned, which is a scream and a groan done together with intense feeling.
I thought I saw that and I was like, oh, Lori's going to love that.
It made me think of the other day when you said, you didn't say that. You said the gasp I gusp.
Oh, yeah.
It was actually Primi Muhammad.
Scream I scrumped.
Primi Muhammad said the scream I scrumped on Blue Sky the other day, and I laughed a lot at it. So it made me think of the scream I scrumped or the gasp I gusp. And then there was another one at the point where he's meeting with the Emperor, and obviously the Emperor susses out that this is not actually my friend.
He's so nice about it.
And he is so nice about it. And so the Emperor says, by the way, who are you? And then Lorenzo says, as the narrator, Lorenzo says, there is the policeman's tap on the shoulder, the shock of the top step that is not there. There's falling out of bed, and there is having her husband return home unexpectedly. I would take any combination of those in preference to that simple inquiry. I aged inside to match my appearance and more. I laughed out loud.
I thought that was good. And you know exactly what he means. Like your stomach just drops, and you're just like,
fuck. What lie can I tell? None lies. Can't find any lies.
I don't know words anymore.
I'm sunk.
Also, that doesn't sound like something a Homo sapien would say.
It does not.
Bless. Okay, shall we do feminist fave? You don't have one here?
I like some things about Penny. So there was the thing where she explains to him why the Farley files are how they are, and then at one point he consults with Penny about something, and Penny convinces him to do something, and he says, Penny is the world saver type, and her sincerity is contagious. And I like that about her.
Nice.
And she's also a, what did they say she was? She was like, she graduated from, I can't believe I
she's
didn't write this
an
down.
MA. I remember that.
Oh, yeah, she went to
down.
Wellesley
Yeah,
or something.
Wellesley, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And she is
Georgetown,
a
too.
representative of districtless university women, and I don't know what that
Love
means.
that part.
That's like a pant and trouser type of gal.
Maybe they go to college, but they're not voters
Is it like
there.
the educated woman diaspora? Like what?
They
is
don't.
this?
They don't have a dedicated assembly person, so she's theirs. I don't know. It was a wild
Maybe
thought.
districtless means like they're not affiliated with a location.
Yeah, like they don't have a polling place.
Are they
or something.
shiggies?
No, they're in college, Haley. They go to Agnes Scott.
I remember all those things now that you say them, but I feel like every 10 pages she was crying or fainting.
Okay, so
Yeah,
now I'm going to be
also-
getting to
yes.
that. I'm going to be getting to
See,
that.
also.
I liked that the Martians didn't have gender, but they still had kids running around, and I was really into that.
Oh,
and like it's a communal raising situation. Love that.
Creche.
Now, granted, those kids are created by fission, but still.
That sounds perfect.
Yes. I'm also very glad that Lorenzo's one interaction with a teenage girl was not weird. Like, he managed to meet a 15-year-old girl and not...
What? Objection. Oh, feminist favorite cannot be
the absence of-
not.
It's a bare minimum situation. It's a bare minimum situation.
Okay,
I'll just say I went into that scene with...
He didn't molest her. It's great.
Feminism
I
is
was
not
so-
molesting a 15.
I'll say I was so proud of Bobby H because I went into that scene going, oh no.
Well, wait
But
for my
then all that happened is like she basically behaved like my mom did in high school, and she asked for his autograph, which I thought was pretty great.
Yeah.
And he was perfectly fine.
He also handled that very well.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't know how to sign this. He's like, I'll do you one better. I'll mail you a picture.
It was genius. It was great.
good.
I was so pleased to get out of that interaction without cringing out of my chair that
I mean, for the 1950s.
it became my feminist fave.
Yeah.
What can I say? Misogynist moment.
But for that matter about Bebe, that was hardly fair, for I certainly had not known that she was underage.
Well,
Once again,
Oh my God, what's that
I
from?
forgot about that part.
Lorenzo talking about something. And telling a
Like
story.
secrets in his past.
Like, do you
and,
know
like,
how many books we have where it's like jokes about having sex with an underage
I know.
girl?
I take back my whole thing about the 15-year-old encounter now.
Well, he still gets props
Well,
for
he
not
knew
being
that girl was 15.
true. I guess.
Mine is that Penny's Farley file has her measurements.
That was
Now,
under my
the
boob
only
top.
thing, the only thing I can say for that though is like they've been working together a long time. Maybe he's like, if I want to buy her a coat, I want to know what
Sure.
size coat she
Sure.
needs.
It might not mean boob measurements.
36,
Well,
24,
but
36.
that is
you know
what
it does,
means.
but you know it does.
it does. Also, I laughed at her glove size, so specific.
Well, what's interesting about, and this is to trash on Lorenzo or the Farley file, is that women's objective measurements don't count. Like women's dress sizes and shirts are like random numbers, like an 8 on this or a 10 on this, and it's different for everything. So
Back then, it was your actual body.
Well, yeah, that's why your measurements
Now
actually
it doesn't
are
matter.
useful because
Well,
sizes
yeah.
don't mean anything.
yeah,
Now,
But
now,
also, your boss, like, I don't need my boss to buy me a dress.
yeah.
So,
it's a different time.
How's he gonna reward a nice lady though?
It's a different time.
money.
I generally did not love how infantilized Penny was the entire time.
Same.
Lorenzo calls her child 4 times. Dak calls her honey child.
Well, that's
once.
because her boss, Bonfort, calls her child.
And then Doctor called her youngster. At one point, there was the stow it Penny or I'll spank your round fanny at 2 gravities, which we
the
loved.
2 gravities was pretty funny to me. I object to the statement, but the 2 gravities was funny.
And assuming she had an accelerated course of study in college, she has a master's, she's at least 22.
Yeah, this is an adult woman, and and this man is telling her that he's going to spank her. This is the most fucked up shit.
Yeah.
And then there was, I grabbed Penny and kissed her. She didn't even seem to mind, was another line that really jumped out at me.
So
It's
romantic.
Like, I'm going to do this whether she likes it or not. Oh, thank God. She didn't seem to
What
mind.
a relief.
You've seen that picture in Times Square after World War II?
Yeah. On the Wikipedia, I think for this book, I can't remember if it was this book or if it was the Heinlein Wikipedia, Gary Westfall in Foundation magazine says, Heinlein is a problematic case for feminists. On the one hand, his works often feature strong female characters and vigorous statements that women are equal or even superior to men. But these characters and statements often reflect hopelessly stereotypical attitudes about typical female attributes. It's disconcerting, for example, that in Expanded Universe, Heinlein calls for a society where all lawyers and politicians are women, especially on the grounds that they possess a mysterious feminine practicality that men cannot duplicate. And that really gave me you called out fairly recently that a lot of really accomplished men were probably undiagnosed ADHDs that had outsourced their executive functioning.
Yeah.
And so women are taking care of everything, but men are getting all that.
Or even without ADHD. It's just nice to have someone do your shit.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, if
And
someone
I think it came up in the context of ADHD, but yeah. Like, it
Well,
was,
if someone is handling all your, I read that somewhere. Someone's handling all of your little shit that saps your energy and your creativity, then yeah, of course you can do more interesting things and have big ideas.
it's not that there's a mysterious feminine practicality. It's that this is what we've had to do. Like, we have to take care of your crap. That's what we do now.
He also
Take care of your
says
crap.
women are practical in this book.
He does. He does say that.
And I don't know how to feel about having one strong character and then like an infantilized, like, it almost makes it worse.
Well, this one's the
because
same.
you know you don't have
It's all in the same person, this one, because
I
it's like
know.
she's both infantilized, but she's also running everything.
Yeah, well, so it's a show and tell thing. So the things that he tells us about some of the female characters are positive attributes. You know, she's educated, she's competent, but then a lot of the things that he shows us are the infantilizing things, the fainting, the crying, the being in love.
Doing that.
That's exactly right.
I think he's purposely trying to be progressive, but then his upbringing or the society he lived in makes it so like that's just what comes
Well, he
out.
married 3 very accomplished women.
Yeah.
Like his wives were high achieving people. So I think he liked women that were
Sometimes people just like to infantilize people
Equals.
because they like it.
well. I do think it's a lot of
Like maybe he thinks it's sexy.
socialization.
So it doesn't mean that these were good marriages.
That's true.
That's true. I mean that's absolutely true.
He may have been like, she's a real ball buster. I need to find myself a 20-year-old fainting girlfriend.
Or maybe he had affairs. We don't know.
We don't know. I mean, everything I could see, it seemed like they were pretty happy. His second wife, Jenny, was the one that was in the Navy with him. And I mean, they were married 15 years. They seemed...
Yeah, I just don't want to think too much about like his own relationships based on what he writes.
Yeah, that's
like,
I mean, he is trying to sell...
Yeah.
yeah.
And that makes it even worse. Like I'm going to sell weird
Well, it's
depictions of
interesting
women.
to say like, this is what people want to see. They want to see like a girl who's smart, but she still faints all the time and doesn't care if you grab her and kiss her. And like, maybe that was what people wanted to see.
I mean,
because it made them feel like
They still want to see that.
maybe they feel like I'm pro equality or whatever. I respect women. I think they should go to college and have political positions, but also
They're hot.
don't be stronger than me and faint and cry and be in love with me.
Still be pretty.
I'll buy you gloves.
I was thinking the movies that I've seen recently in 2025, how many of them don't pass the Bechdel test?
Oh,
So
Lordy. I know.
It's just part of our society. So
Yeah, that's true, Lori. That's true.
Are we still on misogynist moment?
If you have some, let's do it. Otherwise, it's boob talk time.
Yeah, I have a line. My father had taught me that a woman will forgive any action up to and including assault with violence.
Oh, yeah.
But is easily insulted by language. The lovelier half of our race is symbol-oriented, very strange in view of their extreme practicality.
So you can hit him.
hit them.
Hit him.
But
Don't use a swear word.
don't
in front
don't
of
say the C word. Ooh, don't say the C word. What a weird thing to say.
Jesus Christ. Boob talk.
I've got a surprise one.
Ooh.
Excited.
Mine was just spank your round fanny.
Yeah, I have that one, but There's a siren, and it's called a warning hooter. The warning hooter broke up, and he uses it 2 or 3 times, and I was like, the hooter, man.
It's a boob flying around yelling emergency.
And hooter was a big term in my house growing up, so
Hooters.
just hooter.
Mine too. Is it because Hooters was so popular in the 90s?
There was no hooters in Savannah.
Hooters
So.
was not
There
a
was no
word
Hooters
that I
and
heard
Conyers,
much.
but I still think as a concept it was.
I don't know. My dad just said hooters a lot.
I think mine did too. And my mom.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
I think that was just almost the word more than boob. Was
Yeah.
Hooter.
that certainly wasn't breast.
No. Mm-mm.
This doesn't make any sense, but I just remembered it. So outside of Savannah, there's a town called Libertyville. You remember this? And my dad, for some reason, decided to name it Hooterville. And he never said why, but whenever we would drive through it, it was Hooterville. Hooterville. My apologies to any Liberty City residents listening to this podcast.
Well, I think we know what the episode title is.
Welcome to Hooterville.
My boob talk was just the fact that her measurements were in her Farley file. I thought that was pretty silly.
That's boob errata.
Did they eat any fantastical food?
I don't think so.
I don't think they ate.
The only things I took down that were consumed, well, they weren't even consumed, they were just mentioned, is that Mr. Saunders of Pretoria, who met with Lorenzo in his Farley file, it says that he likes a twist of lime in his whiskey and splash.
Oh,
They did
And
drink a
then
lot. That's
at
true.
one point, Lorenzo would like a scotch and water.
Yeah, they drank. Because it's like Mad Men.
It is like Mad Men.
Space Mad Men. Okay, well, soap stuff.
Yeah, that guy impersonating a guy and then becoming the guy.
After the guy died.
Lookalikes, secret imposter.
Yeah. Mhm.
Did
Stepping in
y'all-
for somebody else.
Did y'all ever expect that we wouldn't meet the actual guy? I was a little bit let down that we would never actually meet him.
I don't know what I thought. I guess
did meet him.
Well,
I mean, like in his deathbed.
not like in like
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
substantive way. Like,
Yeah.
I thought something more interesting would happen, then he would just become him. So yeah.
I think it'd be so weird to watch somebody impersonate me.
Yeah.
You know, like he applauded this performance, but I don't know. I don't know if I could. I mean, you can't watch it objectively.
Yeah.
If he knew he was dying, it might have been a relief.
Yeah,
He's like, my work can go on.
that's true. But I'd be like, you really think I walk like that? Like,
Yeah. It's like hearing your voice, which like at this point I'm used to doing,
Yeah.
but you know,
Yeah.
back in the day, hearing your voice on the answering machine or something,
Oh,
being
God,
like,
terrible.
"Ugh."
Cringe,
Yeah.
cringe,
Do I
cringe.
sound like that?
Yeah. All right. Did you like the book?
Yeah, I did. In spite of myself, I did. I thought it moved right along. I liked the tone. I skimmed the politics, probably also skimmed the rocket. Since
The rocket
apparently I
did
didn't know
not
anything
feature
about
very
it.
much. So
Well, you said it was
I just hung
interesting, and
up.
I didn't even know what you're talking
hung
about.
up.
But yeah, I liked it.
Wasn't my jam.
One or two. I thought it was fun. You know,
I thought it was fun.
Short, it rocked along.
I'm glad it was short. That was nice.
Let's see what pickles this guy
I
gets
thought
out
it
of
was
next.
just like good, clean storytelling fun.
Is it Star Wars or Lord of the Rings?
I have opinions.
I have opinions.
Will somebody tell me their opinion?
I think it's Lord of the Rings because I looked up a video of Tolkien talking, and Lorenzo sounds like an Oxford-educated snob.
Okay. What I have are questions.
Okay.
So you don't have an opinion. You have questions.
Is Lorenzo not Frodo? Is Bonfort's identity not the one ring that only Lorenzo can carry? Was the real Bonfort kidnapped and tortured and ultimately destroyed by the Nazgul? Is Dak not Gandalf? Actually, maybe Dak is
Maybe Lorenzo's
Strider or something. No. Lorenzo is absolutely Frodo because Bonfort's identity is the one ring. He's the only one who can carry it.
You're convincing me.
like it.
Into like kind of like Mordor. I'm going into Mars is kind of like Mordor because
Yeah.
you can't fuck it up.
And you can't just walk in
The
there.
Martian, you cannot. One does not simply walk into the Martian nest.
I did a Lord of the Rings thing.
But counterpoint, at one point he mentions Alec Guinness.
He does. The bland
Obi-Wan
face.
Kenobi is in this book.
The bland, forgettable face of Alec Guinness.
You
But
know,
I think it's Lord of the Rings.
Alec Guinness thought Star Wars just like was complete bullshit. He's like, yeah, I'm just like fucking doing the Force or whatever. It's a paycheck.
And here we are.
Yep.
I guess that explains why there's one scene, isn't it him, where he's in one scene and he's like in it's like a lightsaber battle and he's just sort of like wiggling his lightsaber.
oh,
back
that's
and
the
forth,
entire
like,
climactic
he just-
battle.
it's just like
in A
it's
New
just
Hope.
like, wow, you are not trying. You don't care if you die.
He just wants to go be a Force ghost.
Oh, that's funny.
I'm of two minds.
A double star?
Oh, I meant to make that joke about the 2-star reviews.
No, double star.
Missed opportunity.
Oh. Did y'all look up what a double star is, by the way?
Yeah, it's like a double star.
It's when 2 men are the same guy.
Anyway.
What is it?
Okay, so in observational astronomy, a double star or visual double is a pair of stars that appear close to each other as viewed from Earth, especially with the aid of optical telescopes. They occur because the pair either forms a binary star or is an optical double, which is a chance line of sight alignment of 2 stars. So basically, it's just
They look close to each other?
they look close to each other. They're paired up, but they might not actually be.
What a funny thing to have a whole name.
I assumed it was like the binary star in Tatooine. Yeah.
Star Wars. So there's aliens and a projectile lightsaber.
That's
so
true.
I was going to say Star Wars, but then there's also Ints.
Yeah.
So Lord of the Rings.
I think there's enough evidence for Lord of the Rings.
Everybody call in and tell us what you think. I don't know if we landed on one.
I think it's Lord of the Rings.
Me too.
Make it so.
Maybe the real Bonafort was the friends we
I
made
knew you were
along
gonna
the way. All right. Next time, A Desolation Called Peace.
I'm going to try and reread the first book because I don't remember anything
I
from it.
also was thinking I might need to do that because I don't remember it.
I'm not doing that.
Okay. But everybody come armed with your
Texkalani.
Your
Oh, I already
Texkalani
know
name.
mine. I already know mine.
Well, you already have one. You can't know.
No, I changed it.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. All right, cool. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
You go, girl. You go, girl. You go, girl. A hilarious podcast